What is the real difference between the wealthy and, well, everyone else? It's not just about luck or being born into it. It's about a specific set of rules they live by. Today, we're going to break down the 9 core principles that can totally rewire your entire approach to money. It all boils down to 3 big things: your mindset, your strategy, and your action.
And this really hits the nail on the head, right? For most people, the path to wealth isn't actually blocked. It's just hidden. The problem isn't a lack of ability, it's a lack of a blueprint. And that's what this is. This is the blueprint.
So where do we even begin? Not with some hot stock tip, not with a business plan. It starts right here, in your head. The whole journey kicks off with a couple of key mental shifts. These are the decisions you have to make on the inside before you see any results on the outside.
Principle number 1 is raw. It's visceral. You have to absolutely hate poverty. I don't mean just dislike it or think it's inconvenient. I mean you have to treat it like a disease you refuse to catch. You see, a mild desire to be rich, that's not going to cut it. You need a deep, burning dissatisfaction with financial struggle to power you through the hard stuff.
And that leads perfectly into principle 2, which is a huge distinction. Being broke is a situation, being poor is a state of mind. See, the average person just kind of tolerates being broke, like it's their permanent reality. But a wealthy person, even when they have no money, they see it as a temporary layover, not their final destination. You have to decide that your situation right now is temporary.
Principle 3 builds right on top of that. Your outside world will almost never outperform your own self-image. It just won't. If you see yourself as someone who's always struggling, you'll subconsciously find ways to make that story come true. You have to upgrade your identity first. See yourself as a winner, as someone who figures things out. Your results will literally rise to meet that new version of you.
And principle 4 shows you exactly how to start doing that. Just change one little word. Asking, "Can I do this?" Well, that's a question of doubt. You're basically asking for permission. But asking, "How can I do this?" That's a question of strategy. It assumes it's possible and immediately switches your brain into problem-solving mode. It's a total game changer. Okay, and the last mindset principle, number 5, is all about what you let into your head. We are drowning in advice from everyone, right? The rule is so simple. Stop taking financial advice from people who don't have the financial results you want, period. You have to filter everything. Follow the track record, not the talk. Find the people who've actually done it and listen only to them. Okay, so mindset is locked in. Now we move into the engine room. How do you actually make money? It's not magic. It's about a really clear, strategic understanding of how money actually works, which brings us to the 6th and maybe the most important principle of them all.
Principle 6, you have to get this deep in your bones. Money doesn't chase hours. Money chases value. Let me say that again. Money chases value created. Your income is just a reflection of the size of the problems you solve for other people. So forget about trading time for money and start obsessing over how you can create more value.
So here's the modern playbook for creating that value. It's a 3-step process. First, you learn a high-value skill, something the market desperately needs. Second, you get really good at selling the value of that skill. And third, you use the internet to scale everything so you can help thousands of people instead of just one at a time. And if you're wondering where to even apply those skills, well, you just follow the money. Right now, all the big capital, all the opportunity, it's pouring into these 4 areas: artificial intelligence, automation, what's called the attention economy, and of course, digital leverage. The biggest opportunities are right there. Now for the final and honestly the most critical part, You can have the perfect mindset, the perfect strategy, but they are completely and utterly worthless without our last three principles. This is all about execution. This is where the game is actually won. Principle 7 couldn't be simpler. Action is always greater than perfection. Look, perfectionism is just procrastination in a tuxedo. It's an excuse to not start. The goal isn't a flawless plan. The goal is to start now with what you've got. You can't steer a parked car. You need momentum. And when you start taking action, you are going to fail. It's inevitable. That brings us to Principle 8. You have to completely reframe what failure even is. It's not the end. It's the price of admission. It's the data you need to correct your course. Every single failure is a lesson that gets you one step closer to mastery. And that leads us to the last and maybe the most practical rule of them all. Principle 9. Cash flow is freedom. You can't invest, you can't build, you can't take risks if you're worried about next month's rent. So the absolute #1 priority is to build cash flow. Get a job, start a side hustle, do whatever it takes to get cash coming in the door. That cash buys you the freedom to make your next move. So how do you focus all this action day to day? It's simple. Use a tool called the Power List. Every single night before bed, you write down the 5 most important things that will actually move the needle for you tomorrow. Not 20 things, 5. This forces you to be ruthless with your priorities and make sure you're always moving forward. All right, we have covered a ton of ground here. Let's do a super quick, rapid-fire recap of the big ideas to really lock this blueprint in your mind. First, it all starts with your mindset. This isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about making a decision. Don't just dislike being broke. You have to detest it. Let that be the fuel for everything you do. Second, shift your entire focus to the engine of all income, creating value. Remember, money is just a side effect. It always follows the value you create for other people by solving their problems. Third, none of this matters without execution. You've got to ditch this idea of a perfect plan, because it doesn't exist. The only right time to start building the future you want is right now, today with what you have. And finally, as you start, you have to change your relationship with failure. It is not the opposite of success. You have to embrace it. It's the tuition you pay for your education on the path to winning. See, these aren't just tips. This is the operating system for the game of creating wealth. Internalize these 9 principles, live by them, and you will fundamentally change your entire life. So, we end with this question. This isn't about tomorrow or next week. What is the one small action, sending one email, writing your power list for tomorrow, researching one skill, that you can do in the next 30 minutes to apply one of these principles? Answer that question and then go do it. The world isn't waiting.